If you're going to put the deck of many things in your game, make sure you're willing to accept the consequences. This is what I did when giving the deck to the party resident's guard gnome, Kraus. For context on why the party thought I was committing narrative suicide, Kraus was the cause of derailing of a story of mine. In other words, he derailed a lightning train that I planned on derailing later in the story, and in doing so killed hundreds of innocents in the process. The party had just finished up Waters Deep, Dragon Heist, and had found a deck in the Dragon's Hoard. What was it doing there? They didn't know, but here they are, and the X-Forever DM that plays in my game is, I'm sure, questioning everything I'm doing at this point. Story-wise, we've reached level 7, and I'm about to lean into a heavily customized version of Rise of Tiamat that is fairly delicate. Luckily, throwing this deck at Kraus to see what happens for laughs was only half of my plan. Okay, maybe it was around 7/8 of my plan, but shush. See, I know the deck can instantly screw over a party, and having a character instantly taken out of the picture is not our kind of fun. Knowing this, I made plans for if any of these terrible cards showed their faces. Surprisingly enough, the fabric of the universe was not tested immediately, despite Kraus getting a free wish first draw. Kraus would sit on this wish for 3 entire sessions, and eventually the deck made its way to the back of my mind. I had to focus on the political landscape of our upcoming visit to the Nine Hells, and wait, what's that? Is the party taking turns pulling from the deck in the middle of the night? So I have 2 new players at this point. I say new, but they're very experienced and awesome people, just new to this game. Our X-Forever DM plays Warren, a conniving shadow sorcerer with shape-shifting elements, and my BFF, who I introduced to D&D ages ago, playing a 5-year-old ranger who passes herself as a gnome. They're sisters, and they're awesome. Warren was the center of this post and is pretty much there to keep Millie out of trouble and totally not take care of her because she loves Millie or anything. That being said, it's a wonder she didn't stop Millie when she rolled up to Warren and said, "Hey, let's pull from that deck Kraus has." Kraus was really chill with this and just handed over the deck. Millie got free XP, which equated to a level up. Feeling stronger and more energetic, Millie pressured poor Warren into drawing as well. Warren got the Void card. For those of you who don't know, which I'm sure is very few of you, the Void card rips your soul from your body and places it into a container in a location of the DM's choosing, and at level 7 is basically character death. Warren stared at the blank card and spoke. "Wow, I was expecting more. This is really and then dropped dead." Needless to say, everyone went into full panic mode trying to figure out what was wrong. Millie was super distressed as Warren seemed completely lifeless, and in an effort to bring Warren back to life, Kraus blew his wish. Unfortunately, the Void card specifically says that a wish spell cannot bring back the affected person. Fortunately, the wish told Kraus where Warren was. Unfortunately, she was in a realm of eldritch horrors, the Far Realm, a place way out of the party's league. The session ended with everyone believing that Warren was unrecoverable and pretty much dead. I even said I needed to see Warren after the game, alluding not very subtly to having to roll up a new character. However, once we were in a private Discord call, I told Warren's player the exact opposite. Warren would be back next session. Another day, IRL passed. Then we hopped on together and played out the scenario I had set up. Warren was very much conscious in her prison in the Far Realm, a place where someone had taken physics and decided to purge it in nuclear fire before piecing it back together in a completely different order. She laid witness to things no mortal should ever have seen. However, all of the eldritch abominations seemed to only regard her in a passing interest. Their main focus seemed to be on some cluster of entities floating far away, obscured by the literal sheets of reality of this realm. Time passed. Or did it? It was actually hard to tell, but something passed and eventually Warren laid witness to a portal opening up. She was greeted by a familiar sight. And by familiar, I mean it looked slightly humanoid. It was tall with wire-like limbs covering in white glowing magical flesh. It was like a thin-cooked skeleton, except the neck appeared to be over 4 feet long, with a rune-encrusted human skull sitting at the end. There were also a set of wire-like skeletal wings on its back, some parts covered in the same magical flesh. The thing walked, glided, over towards Warren's soul and leaned down towards it. Its pin-pricked red eyes focused on Warren with an intensity of a dying star. A strained mechanical whirling could be heard as it craned its neck away from Warren to look at the entities the eldritch abominations were so focused on, then look back and grab Warren's soul. Suddenly, Warren was laying in a coffin back in her body. After a few minutes of trying to keep calm, she heard the sound of moving earth above. Her coffin slowly creaked open to reveal sunlight, temporarily blinding Warren. I had Warren roll a perception check, and she looked to see a figure standing above her. It seemed to be Warren's mother, who Warren knew for a fact to be dead. Her mother reached a hand down to her, and Warren shakily took it, only to realize that the hand was as cold as steel. The same mechanical whirling heard in the far realm could be heard. Then, suddenly, Warren was out of the grave and face to face with not her mother, but Lady Vole. Everything around them was grayed out, birds sitting motionless in the sky, indicating that time was stopped. The world I'm running is the best case scenario continuation of a 6.5-year-long 4E game that is wrapping up right about now. I don't know how it's actually going to end, but this world, everything went as planned. This means that in a world called Eberron, a magical steampunk world, a supposedly dead house by the name of House Vol returned. Their past is steeped in blood and controversy, so tension in Eberron are at a all-time high. Lady Vol is the leader of this house, and was my character in the last campaign, now relegated to quest-giving and plotlines. About a day earlier, Lady Vol had approached the party and told them she had a job for them. The details were not elaborated on, but she said that the party was in a position to do something she could not. Lady Vol told Warren that she had pulled every stop to get her out of the Far Realm and not to make her regret it. Warren had several questions and some excellent banter was exchanged by the two. When asked why she was going through all the trouble to save Warren, Lady Vol gave her a history lesson. It boiled down to this. The cult of dragons had tried to raise the dragon god Tiamat 50 years prior. Lady Vol's party had tried to stop it, but had actually failed to prevent her return. History doesn't remember it that way because one of her party members had an ace up his sleeve and attempted to imprison Tiamat once more. However, due to Lady Vol's unstable magic, the spell went haywire and Tiamat was yeeted to only she knows where. Now the cult of dragons seems to have found out where she went, and several organizations now sought the god's location. Lady Vol wanted to be there before anyone else and told Warren that she brought Warren back because she needed to use the best pawns she could get her hands on. Lady Vol also had a theory on where Tiamat was. Ever since the dragon god was banished, a strange phenomenon has started occurring. People and creatures from seemingly other universes entirely were popping through portals into this world, one of which was Geralt of Rivia, a witcher who the party had met a few times in the past. Lady Vol theorized that Tiamat was now in a different universe entirely, and luckily she would get a chance to study this phenomenon soon. One of these multi-universal portals was telegraphing its opening and would open in 2 days. The problem was that it was opening in the 9 hells during a Mad Max-style death race between devils. Lady Vol couldn't get close without incurring Hell's wrath, so she was enlisting the party to rescue or neutralize whatever comes through the portal. That means entering the death race. Yes, I really wanted to have this death race. Now, why was this so great for Warren? Well, our resident ex-Forever DM was hungry for both Eberron and some political intrigue. Because of this, after the conversation with Lady Vol, she plopped Warren into a city-sized airship called the Eternal Voyage. This airship was owned by House Vol and was their main base of operation. It was just like any other city, but undead worked the shops. It was flying high in the sky, and it was ran by a blood cult. You see, House Vol has a religion called Blood of Vol. Its base teachings say that your power and strength lies with you and your blood. As you can imagine, many people have taken this way too far throughout history, and because of that, the Blood of Vol is widely viewed as an evil blood cult. Warren, who pretty much got free reign of the city up until it was time to meet with the rest of the party, ran around it and started asking everyone she could find about this. Non-Vol residents explained that yes, tensions were high with House Vol because of the extraordinary economical armed conflict that hadn't occurred yet. That and Lady Vol had done her best to paint the Blood of Vol as a good thing, walking a very thin political tightrope. It was an hour of role-playing and note-taking that this particular player craved, and it allowed me to kickstart a plotline that I have been holding on to for half a year. I cannot describe how much fun we had with this, but it's safe to say D&D is a role-playing game, and when a role-playing is good, it's good. All of this was contrived from a random draw from the deck of many things and would not have happened without it. I dare say my campaign would be worse without it. So yes, The deck is a scary, scary thing, but keep in mind when using it correctly, it's awesome. If you feel up to it and can accept the consequences of a wish spell in your game, go for it. You might have an experience like in my game and put the previously veiled plotline front and center while feeding your RP hungry players. Tildir. The deck of many things is scary, but amazing when used right.